Okay, here we are today on the presentation of the Gorilla Class's sound sculptures. So I'm going to let the first group go, and they will be speaking about their materials that they were using, and the challenge that they gave themselves was the materials had to be recycled. So students brought in their own work. They had to create some kind of sound and have an interesting way to activate that sound. And then, of course, the visual aesthetics of the sculpture overall. So go ahead, guys.
So we cut out 2 circles and color it with color paper. So we want it to be colorful.
And the inside is numerous different kinds of edible foods, such as rice, beans, and macaroni. And
Maybe if you can turn it this way so we could kind of hopefully see that. All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah. So all the sound is mixed together. And for presentation, how it looks, we use some cloth, old origami paper.
I think like the color we choose for both the papers and the cloth is like matching with the warm color, so it looks more like more constant.
We wanted to do a wheel of fortune, so this is our wheel. The problems that we had were like, it was hard to, cause it's pretty heavy. The circle's pretty heavy, so it was hard for like the ruler to keep it up. Like, so it's still a little bit slanted. So we just had to fix that.
Okay.
How could you improve on it?
We can have a stronger not a base but like a stronger stick in order for maybe like more 2 of them, one on each side. That way it's like more stable.
Yeah, so like if you put a piece of like those styrofoam blocks or something, on the inside of that and stick it in, that would keep it stable. Corn kernels, sand, anything like that. Do you like it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty. I want to take it home.
Anything else you would wanna if you had to do it over again? How would you? And you had infinite time, right? Which means like not bound by classroom time or school materials, or materials that are available just to you in school. How would you approach it if you were like at home and you had a year to make one? The same exact thing, but how would you approach it? Or what do you think would change?
Well, the thing is, inside the box you put marble, like those squares of marbles. But we prefer to put like foam in it or like styrofoam.
Okay.
So then the stick could stay like stable in a way. And then more with the hot glue, which will make it more like movable. Also for the, I think for the stick, as Diego said, we're supposed to like have it more structured. And you like have like a Ferris wheel, how they have like triangles around it. So then it will be more structured, and then when you spin it, you don't have to have difficulty in holding the stick and then spinning the thing and then making noise.
Yeah. Anything else?
The inside, well, it's like cardboard and tape, and I feel like it would have been better with plastic because with the cardboard it was like, I don't know if you could see, there's
Bulging
some
a little
parts, there's some parts where like they're mixing into the other areas.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, the rice ones
so if you have the plastic would have been better.
Anything else?
Make it bigger.
Bigger.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome.
More variety, like stuff inside. We put more
Different things.
And I know one of the challenges you guys hoped to do was to create something where the sound would be self-activating. And that's very difficult with the limited materials we have. So how could this perhaps be, the sound be activated without you physically having to turn it? If we had unlimited money to buy stuff, what might you do to it to make it activate itself?
Make it have like a power, like a fan, like you press a button and it just like moves by itself.
Okay, so some kind of motor.
Like
Yeah.
a motor,
Okay.
Which would be fairly simple. You buy you can get a used fan. I mean, this is what I do. So I say it's simple, but it's like if you look at my place, it's just full of machines that are taken apart, vacuum cleaners and everything. You could take a fan, take off the motor. If you take off, let's say it's just a regular plastic fan, right? Just break that part, take off the fins or whatever, and then take the bottom part, If you look at just the internal part of it, it's just a little tiny motor that's wired up to a rotator. So that motor can just be put in there, wired up through, and then rotate around. Then your problem is how fast it rotates, because within like 30 seconds you're gonna have noodles and rice all over. Can I touch it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, oh, it is heavy. There is stuff in here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Marble.
Yeah, and that was, you didn't actually explain why marble. There was actually a good reason why you chose marble for the base.
Yeah, because at first you tried to use paper,
Mhm.
but the paper, there was space between the papers, so it didn't help at all. Even if we followed the paper
Oh,
out,
right.
it just didn't help. And then it was like lightweight. So then in the so we're using recyclable or reusable materials. We saw the marbles there, so we decided to use the marble instead, because then the marble would be more structured and then more like heavier. So we'll keep the base.
I would say even concrete works great. Something that, if the purpose is to rotate it, right? Something that the action of holding it here and holding this is not part of the action of rotating it, right? So like if you want it to rotate, that someone could just come up if there's like a little handle and you just rotate it here, like separate from the base. So the base actually serves the purpose of holding the thing up so you could activate it, which might mean, a larger base or a different shape, a more stable shape, right? Trapezoid. Right? Trapezoid? The only other thing here is pretty much we're just talking about execution, right? A little bit more space here, so this isn't rubbing. So you can actually freewheel it, because this will be stopping it. There's an artist, I forgot the name of the artist. I was in Portugal at Schraub's museum, and there were these very similar to this, very like circular things mounted on walls that were very beautiful, right? And then day 4 or 5 of the residency, because I don't speak Portuguese, and everyone there spoke Portuguese, and there was one person that was translating. Finally, one person was like, "Oh, they're to be activated," and you just literally the slightest touch in this thing, the way that it was structured and the weight distributed throughout the sculpture, it's like the slightest touch with the bearings would send this thing a bit. Give the impression of a perpetual motion machine, where just like it felt like it would never stop. Eventually, within like a half an hour, it would stop. But like that's the type of thing where it's like, for something to be, if you don't want to use a motor or batteries or plug in or something like that, or have someone physically keep it moving, that kind of science of like experimenting of like what kind of bearings, what kind of grease, what type of weight throughout this, what ratio of Chex Mix and Captain Crunch do you need for it just to take one motion, and all of a sudden you're hearing should be kind of cool.
Okay, so I gotta cut us off because we gotta get to the others. But by the way,
Everything else is just execution. So it's like this here is awesome if it's intentional. That's why I asked, if you had a lot of time, would you make this a perfect thing?
Yeah.
I also kind of like how it's a little gnarly, but everything with intention. So if you're gonna make it gnarly, really make it gnarly. Don't make the viewer or yourself guess of whether or not this was on purpose or not. Be like, it's gnarly, and you just gnarled up the whole. It's like, okay, clearly this was their decision, and then I can judge it on its own terms. Don't leave any questions like that. That'd be great. But the textiles, awesome, great, I love it.
Nice job, guys.
Yes.